That day, beneath the rustling green coconut trees of Ben Tre, there was a young, slender girl whose eyes shone like fire. Locals often saw her quietly walking along the red dirt roads, her face hidden beneath a conical hat, yet unable to conceal the burning determination within. No one could have imagined that from that peaceful countryside, the first female general of the Vietnam People's Army would rise from the heart of the nation, carrying the dream of liberation and forging legendary achievements that history will never forget. Nguyen Thi Dinh. That name would later echo not only in the glorious pages of history, but also in the hearts of the Southern people. A woman who didn't need weapons to fight, but used her intellect, courage, and patriotism to create a unique army, the long-haired army. An army without guns that struck fear into the enemy. A movement that started in just 3 small communes, but ignited the flame of resistance across the South. Today's story is about her, Major General Nguyen Thi Dinh, a woman who not only helped write history, but also inspired generations of Vietnamese women to rise and fight for what is right, for this country. The Coconut Land Girl and the Seed of Life amidst fire and wind. On an early spring day in 1920, in the river-laced countryside of Ben Tre, a baby girl named Nguyen Thi Dinh let out her first cry in a poor farming family in Lung Hoa Commune, Gyeong Trom District. No one could have foreseen that this tiny girl would one day become the first woman to hold the rank of Major General in the Vietnam People's Army. As a child, Dinh lived a hard life like many rural children. She lost her mother at a young age and grew up amid rising floodwaters, deep fields, and dry paddies, where poverty and hardship clung to every thatched roof. Yet it was in those very days that she came to understand the pain of a people stripped of their nation, the suffering of lives under colonial oppression. When the country groaned under French colonial rule, a fierce determination began to take root in the young girl's heart. She must rise. She must reclaim the right to live for her people. At just 16 years old, Nguyen Thi Dinh joined the patriotic movement in her hometown, later becoming a member of the National Salvation Women's Association, working in secret, distributing leaflets, hiding revolutionaries, and rallying women to fight. In 1936, Dinh was arrested and imprisoned. Despite her young age, she endured beatings and chains in a colonial prison. But it was there, behind bars, that the girl from the coconut land learned to stand firm by her ideals, to live unyielding and never abandon the path she had chosen. Upon her release, Dinh resumed her revolutionary activities with even greater resolve. Then came the August Revolution, and she joined the waves of people rising to seize power in her homeland, leading groups of women with a burning faith. Yet, it was during the fierce resistance war against the Americans that her life truly transformed. By then, Nguyen Thi Dinh had become a seasoned women's cadre, trusted by the people and the party. And she, the woman who had endured prison, lost her husband and loved ones, did not choose to rest or retreat to the rear, but stepped to the front lines, creating an unprecedented miracle in the history of people's warfare. Ben Tre, the beloved land, would soon become the ignition point of a great movement known as the Đồng Khởi uprising, and Nguyen Thi Dinh would be its soul, the torch that lit the flame of that historic event. The flame of Đồng Khởi and the legendary long-haired army. By the end of 1959, as the lives of the southern Vietnamese people sank into unbearable suffering under the rule of the U.S. Diem regime, whispers stirred through the villages of the South. We must rise up. And then the flame ignited, right from the land of Ben Tre, under the leadership of a woman who carried no weapons, wore no armor, but possessed a courageous heart and extraordinary intellect. Nguyen Thi Dinh. In January 1960, in 3 key communes, Dinh Thuy, Phuc Hip, and Binh Cang in Ma Khe district, the Đồng Khởi movement officially broke out. The sounds of bamboo gongs, buffalo horns, and calls to seize power echoed across the rice fields. It was not merely an uprising, it was the awakening of a nation. People, young and old, cast aside fear and rose together. Amid the masses stood the striking figure of Chị Ba Dinh, the affectionate name by which the people called her. Unarmed and unarmored, she led secret meetings, organized groups of people, led demonstrations, seized outposts, and dismantled strategic hamlets. Most notably, she pioneered an unprecedented creation in the art of people's warfare, a women-only army without guns or blades, yet capable of instilling fear in both the puppet regime and U.S. forces, the long-haired army. They were mothers, wives, sisters, wearing traditional baba shirts, checkered scarves, rubber sandals, carrying in their hearts both deep hatred for the oppressors and a burning desire for freedom. When the drum of uprising sounded, they marched in protest, led political struggles, blocked enemy paths, exposed government crimes, reclaimed land, and demanded the release of imprisoned loved ones. Nguyen Thi Dinh was the soul of that army. She not only organized and trained them, but also led from the front, inspiring ordinary women to become resilient warriors. They did not fight with guns, but with words, unity, courage, and a blazing love for their homeland. The long-haired army was not just a name, it became a symbol of intelligence, of unarmed resistance, of the heroic spirit of Vietnamese women. From their ranks came thousands of resounding victories, leaving the enemy both powerless and terrified. As for Nguyen Thi Dinh, she did not stand behind the scenes, nor hide in the shadows. She marched among her people, amid chants, loudspeakers, and the thin line between life and death. She proved that a woman could ignite a revolution if her heart burned with enough love and her mind held enough wisdom. And from that moment, the flame of Đồng Khởi was no longer Ben Tre's alone. It swept across the South, burning bright in the hearts of the people, and changed the course of revolutionary warfare. The first female general, a banner on the battlefield. After the Đồng Khởi movement, the name Nguyen Thi Dinh echoed across southern Vietnam as a leading figure in political struggle. But she did not stop at being a protest organizer or mass movement leader. When the resistance entered a fierce stage, she ventured deep into the jungle, joined the combat ranks, and became one of the key commanders of the Southern Armed Forces. In the war zones, people saw a long-haired woman, petite in stature, simply dressed in a black baba outfit, trekking through the forest each day, attending strategy meetings, training soldiers, and encouraging the troops. No one would have guessed that the commander was a woman, but her intellect and bravery matched that of any soldier on the front lines. In 1965, she was appointed deputy commander of the Liberation Army of Southern Vietnam, a position unprecedented for a woman in the military. In the deep jungle, amid bomb smoke and storms, she became a spiritual pillar, the great mother to thousands of fighters. During those years, Nguyen Thi Dinh marched with fellow soldiers through countless bombings and battles. She directly led major and minor campaigns, discussed strategy with the command staff, and still cared for the soldiers' meals and rest like a sister, a mother. That compassion earned her the beloved name Baba, the general with a woman's heart. Then, in 1974, history marked a brilliant milestone. Nguyen Thi Dinh was promoted to Major General in the Vietnam People's Army, the first woman in the country's history to hold a general's rank. This was not just her personal pride, but a profound honor for all Vietnamese women, those who carried both the burden of raising children, managing homes, and fighting to protect the nation. That general's rank was not only for her, but a recognition of the silent sacrifices of millions of mothers, sisters, and daughters throughout the long resistance. From a poor girl by the Ba Lai River, from a supporter hiding revolutionaries, from a prisoner tortured behind bars. Nguyen Thi Dinh walked a long path with bare feet and steely will to become one of the brightest symbols of patriotism, intelligence, and unwavering strength of Vietnamese women. After peace, a heart devoted to women and the people. As the war faded into the past, the country entered an era of reconstruction and renewal. For many, it was a time to return to normal life and close the chapter of war. But for Nguyen Thi Dinh, the journey of serving the people did not end on the day of victory. She did not rest, nor withdraw from the fight. Instead, she stepped into a new battlefield, the battlefield of peace, of justice, and of women's voices. Immediately after the country's reunification, she was entrusted with many important positions in the government. Among them, her role as president of the Vietnam Women's Union left the deepest mark, not through orders, but through the heart of a mother, a sister, a soldier who had lived through war and understood the hardship of Vietnamese women. She devoted all her energy to fighting for women's rights, from healthcare and education to social status and political voice. She traveled everywhere, from remote mountains to river deltas, to listen to women speak, to witness firsthand the post-war suffering. Widowed wives, orphaned children, single mothers laboring through silent, unspeakable loss. Nguyen Thi Dinh did not just speak for women, she lived for them. In every meeting, every speech, she did not use grand words, but spoke in humble, heartfelt language full of empathy. Whether under the lights of a conference hall or in earthen-walled homes, she remained the same simple Cheat Ba from the South. Modest, decisive, and full of compassion. In 1987, she was elected vice president of the State Council, one of the highest positions in the country at the time. But no matter what position she held, she was always seen working quietly, never seeking fame, avoiding praise, never craving the spotlight. She shone through dedication, through her integrity, and her unwavering belief in the people. To those who met her, Nguyen Thi Dinh was not just a general, but a great mother of the nation. A woman who gave her entire life to freedom, and then gave the rest of it to the happiness and voices of other women. Her legacy, the enduring radiance of the female general. On August 26, 1992, as the nation was gradually transforming in the era of renewal, Major General Nguyen Thi Dinh quietly took her last breath. She passed away at the age of 72, without drums or banners, without grand farewells. But the entire nation fell silent in mourning. That day, Ben Tre's sky was filled with clouds. Rows of coconut trees seemed to bow, bidding farewell to the great daughter of the land as she returned to Mother Earth. The people wept not only for the loss of a leader, but for the loss of a living symbol of virtue, loyalty, and unconditional love. From a poor farmer's daughter to a legendary general, from a resilient Southern mother to vice president of the State Council, Nguyen Thi Dinh's life was an epic of courage and compassion. A life free from personal ambition, lived wholly for the nation, the people, and the women of Vietnam. Today, the name Nguyen Thi Dinh is not only written in history books, but etched deeply in the hearts of the people. Streets, schools, and monuments bearing her name have been built across the country as a way to remember. This nation once had such a woman, resolute, kind, and indomitable. Especially in her homeland of Ben Tre, the Nguyen Thi Dinh Memorial was built. Dignified yet intimate, not just a place for offering incense and remembrance, but a space for future generations to learn a profound lesson. Women, with patriotism, intellect, and bravery, can achieve the extraordinary. More than 30 years since her passing, the image of Cheat Ba Dinh, with her long hair, gentle smile, and fiery eyes, still lives on in the memory of many Southern Vietnamese, as part of the soul of the nation. And the long-haired army she founded is still remembered as a cultural legacy, a unique strategy of Vietnam's People's War. Nguyen Thi Dinh, the first female general of the Vietnam People's Army, did not need weapons to become immortal. She left behind a shining example, an unshakable will, and a heart that loved humanity completely. And so, no matter how many years pass, her light, the light of a true Vietnamese woman, will never fade.